Welcome to the first in a series of instructional videos for the Royal Manticore and Navy. This video is to standardize correspondence and to instruct what the style should look like. I'm Captain Bob Bulkley, the Director of Office of Publications under BUCOM, and I will guide you through this block of instruction. First, there are two distinct forms of written communication in the RMN and her components. The military letter is used for formal notifications to elements of the organization, such as the order to assume command of a chapter or appointment to a position of authority within the RMN. These are always formal, but allow the author to change the format as needed. It always uses understandable terms. Acronyms should not be used, and technical terms, if needed, should be spelled out in the most understandable way. The memorandum, though, is far less formal. On the other hand, the format is a standard outline format. It is allowed to have acronyms and terms that would not be understood by an outsider. There are elements that both formats share. The first is the header, which identifies the sending agency. The next is the date. The standard date is the numerical date, the three-letter abbreviation of the month, and the four-number year. There are no spaces between the elements of the date symbol. The next is the introduction to the sender. The full rank is used as well as the full name. Postnominal letters, as well as noble titles, are never used in the introduction. The first paragraph is a summation of the subject. Subsequent paragraphs will expound on this paragraph, filling in the details. The last element is the closure. This is sincerely in letters. There is nothing in memorandum. If there are any attachments, they are listed at the end, 5 lines below the signature line. We will also include disclosure and distribution of the letter or memorandum. The first thing that you need to decide is what format to use. A memorandum is useful for items like Admiralty orders, naval directives, and vessel regulations issued by the Chapter CO. A letter is more appropriate when discussing policy changes between the departments. The header consists of the name of the agency issuing the communique. In this example, we have the HMS Bellerophon, part of Back Crew Ron 81, issuing the communique. Start with the smallest element, the ship, and then the largest active element, and then the components such as the Royal Manticore and Navy or the Royal Manticore and Marine Corps. Finally, the proper mailing address for standard postal service, even if it is an electronic version. Do not include the email address, as this will appear in the sender header in the email. Always mail from the email address that you wish to receive replies. In the case of a headquarters to an element, that will start the header, with all other elements matching the previous format. The fleet can be inserted between the headquarters element and the actual division. The issuing authority can be written in bold, but this is not required. So a typical header would look like this on a memorandum. Note the seal on the side. The seal should be the component, in this case the RMN. If it was the RMA, the seal would be the RMA logo. Refer to RMNS 040 Organizational Style Guide to see the authorized logo for each component. Letters typically do not have the seal in the header. There are notable exceptions, which would be the First Lord of the Admiralty, the Commandants of the RMMC and the RMA, the High Admiral of the GSN, and the various Space Lords are authorized to use the logo of their component in the letter header. Memorandum for Records, MFRs, are used to record orders. The salutation is straight and to the point, indicating who the intended recipient is. The second element is who the MFR is from, separated by 2 lines from the salutation. The subject can be included, as in the example above, if the address is omitted. The salutation, sender, and subject would be separated by 1 line. Each paragraph is numbered and makes one single point. The first paragraph is always an overview of the subject of the entire MFR. For printed versions of the letter, the left margin should align with the center of the seal. All subsequent paragraphs should be left justified to match the first line. Any subparagraphs should be tabbed 1/2 inch and be left justified to match the indent. Signatures can follow several formats, but have certain elements in common. The name is the first element, always in capital letters. The second line always includes the rank, followed by the component. The position of the sender is an optional 3rd line. The 4th line is reserved exclusively for noble titles. If noble titles are used, then it is the noble rank followed by the territory. In this format, any postnominal letters are authorized on the first line containing the name. Addendums are any attachments. They are numbered unless there is only one attachment. Any additional distribution is included under the list of attachments. Letter headers are the same as MFR headers, except that the logo is not included, previous noted exceptions excluded. Letters have a complete address. Abbreviations in the address do not have punctuation. In the actual greeting, the full rank is spelled out. The sender and the subject are not included in the salutation headers. Letters keep to one subject and one subject only. They should be brief and to the point. Each paragraph is indented by one tab, which should be 1/4 inch, not to exceed 1/2 inch. If you are including an itemized list, you can exceed this, or calling attention to something like a quote from a previous communication. Letters always have sincerely at the end before the signature line. It is indented 1/2 inch right of the center line, and then 5 lines before the signature itself. This gives room for the letter to be signed if printed out. Attachments follow below the signature by 2 lines. Time to review and recap. Memorandums typically have the seal in the upper left. Most letters do not. Memorandums are introduced with the subject line and the addressee. Letters are introduced with the title, name, and full address, plus a proper salutation with the full rank and name of the addressee. Memorandums have a subject line. Letters, confined to one subject, have a subject paragraph. Memorandums have a numbered body aligned with the center of the seal. Numbering is to make it easy to refer to since it is typically used to disseminate orders. Letters indent each paragraph, with additional indentations for lists. Memorandums use just the signature block, whereas letters always use sincerely, then 5 lines, and the signature block. MFRs should be the most common form of communication from higher command to smaller elements. I hope these examples have helped you understand the proper format of both letters and memorandum. If you have any questions, contact me at publications@trmn.org. Thank you for your time and your attention.